Well, hello. Welcome back to the Scale My Ecom Store podcast. Kath Langman here. I've literally just sat down in the studio here to record this week's episode and noticed that we've got some new artwork on the wall. Husband has, if you're watching the video, you can see my daughter's artwork is up there next to the Who, next to the Rolling Stones. Why not? She loves to get a little bit crafty and it just makes the room feel a little bit more fun. But anyway, we're here to talk about marketing, of course, and specifically, really talk about some of the strategies that one of the world's most successful, biggest brands, biggest businesses is doing and does, use to acquire and keep their customers coming back and spending money again and again. And of course, acquiring new customers at a profit and keeping them coming back, spending with you again and again is really essential if you do want to grow your business. Because without it, you won't have the cash flow or the profitability to sustain your business over time, because those two things, cash flow and profits, they're like blood and oxygen to your business. However, of course, the way that you go about acquiring and retaining customers will be a little bit different depending on what kind of product or service that you sell. There's so many different options that we can employ in our business, and not everything will work for every business, right? And most likely it will also change over time as things change in the world around us, or, so many different things can happen, right? And from time to time, I've always found it a really valuable exercise to analyze what some of the most successful brands and companies are doing and, compare and contrast them with other businesses and, of course, with my own businesses. And when you do this kind of an exercise, not only do you come away with some fantastic new ideas to try out in your own business, but you'll also notice that even the most successful businesses in the world don't ever experience that kind of straight upwards, exponential growth curve from startup to success. Every company ends up needing to pivot from time to time as they encounter new issues, whether it's, new competitors entering the market, global pandemics disrupting the way that we live and buy, new technologies disrupting the market, and, so many other things. And I always find it just, a little bit comforting as well as inspiring when I see that even the most successful brands in the world don't always have everything their way. And, they need to troubleshoot and pivot in order to sustain themselves for the long term, the long haul. I don't think any of us would say, these huge, big, successful businesses that have been around for decades aren't successful just because they might have had some problems that, maybe they took a few steps backwards and they had to fix some stuff before they could move forwards again. Yet, oftentimes small business owners, they tell themselves that story, that you're not successful just because something didn't work at some stage. So today on the show, what we're actually going to do is dissect a little bit of the Netflix business model. So, this business model can really offer a lot of insights that can be applied to your digital marketing for an e-commerce business. And of course, Netflix actually started out as an e-commerce, like a traditional e-commerce business with physical products. That's, they're all digital now. But, lots of relevant insights that you can take and apply yourself. And we're going to tease out 6 specific components of what they do that contribute to their success and, give you some ideas that you might be able to emulate. And we're also going to compare these to other brands as well. And I guess try and identify the type of business or product that might suit each of these strategies. Hopefully, by drawing some inspiration from the Netflix model and applying these principles to your own marketing, you'll end up enhancing your own online presence, engage your own audience more effectively. Of course, if we don't have an audience, we have no one to sell to, right? And then drive sustainable growth over the long term. So let's dive in. Now, of course, I don't think we could start anywhere else other than subscription-based marketing. So obviously, Netflix operates on a subscription model where users pay a monthly fee for access to, in their case, access to a library of content. So whilst that's what Netflix do as a product business, you can still emulate that and create subscription products or even services as well. But subscription products, probably the first thing that comes to mind to me in the Australian market would be Who Gives a Crap, but I've definitely had other subscriptions as well over time. Tea, coffee, wine, all that kind of stuff. But other products could find an opportunity here as well. For example, a skincare brand could offer a monthly subscription box containing a curated selection of products, helping to provide customers with a really convenient way to receive their favorite items regularly and to never run out. So a subscription type model, it can give you the recurring, predictable revenue streams that can sometimes be really elusive. For it's not always easy to have that kind of predictability, right, with your revenue, because you have people signing up for just the same fee every single month. And I guess that also gives you that predictability in your cash flow because of it's not just the revenue coming in, but it's kind of the fixed expenses going out as well with the products. But it also helps to encourage customer loyalty and long-term relationships as they are likely to remain engaged with the brand. There will be a subsequent couple of steps that we'll talk about in a little minute that will help with that retention rate. But if you do a good job of that, you can keep your customers really engaged with your brand and continue purchasing from you over the long term. So why do we do this in summary? I mean, essentially it's that predictability with the recurring revenue model. Really just doing the maths and the numbers on that sort of a business model is, it's a lot easier, I guess, for a lot of businesses compared to those that have the ups and downs. That being said, though, you do need to be able to work out what your average retention rate is because, I think Netflix have been on record before, and I'm sure other subscription-based models would as well. Typically the first month, in Netflix's case, I think it's more than a month, they're not actually profitable. So you need to know your numbers pretty intimately here, so that not just with the the average monthly subscription price and the cost of your goods and that sort of thing, but that retention rate is going to be pretty critical as well if you're going to be profitable over the long term. So who is this best for? I mean, clearly a subscription-based model is not going to work for every sort of product, but if you do have the kind of product that people use up and they need more of, then this one would be, definitely worth considering. How do you do it? You definitely just need to, well, for starters, you need the technology, right? So you would need to make sure that you have the right kind of app that can manage the subscription. And it's not just about the automated, monthly fee being charged to the customer, but it's also giving the customer a little bit of control over their subscription as well. So in our house, we have a few subscriptions for various things. Of course, Who Gives a Crap? Toilet paper being one. I think we, like many, we got into that in the early days of the pandemic. Anyway, you can log in and, if you need it earlier, you can change the delivery date, or if you need to bump it out a little bit later because you don't need it yet. Or you can add products or take products out. So there is a little bit of control in that. And, I think from a customer retention perspective, that's important. But then from a fulfillment perspective, you definitely need to still have the processes in place to facilitate, those perhaps, tweaks and changes along the way. The second thing that Netflix is really good at, and you'll recognize this, and this is not just unique to Netflix at all, is personalized recommendations. When you log into your Netflix account, you're shown a curated selection of movies and TV shows and, other types of content that is based on your preferences that you select, but also based on your viewing habits. I mean, Spotify do this as well, of course. And I always, anytime I log into those two platforms, I'm always like, oh, which one of my kids has been in here listening to things and messing up my algorithm because, get shown things that aren't necessarily relevant to me, but definitely are to my kids. However, that kind of strategy of making the personalized recommendations, it's just so useful, particularly when you think about as consumers, all of us are inundated with so many different pieces of information throughout our day in all different aspects of life. We can't take it all in. So if there's any way that you can make it easier and more relevant to your customers, then you'll definitely see a better result. And so product-based businesses can start by and should start by collecting data on your customer behavior and their preferences and their purchase history. We here love and recommend Klaviyo for e-commerce businesses. That's essentially what Klaviyo is a genius at doing. And this data can be gathered through various channels, of course, like your Shopify analytics, your Klaviyo email marketing. Also, you can, there's ways to use your social media insights for this as well. But once you've started collecting this data, you can then segment your audience based on various, criteria, whether it's, of course, demographics, but also purchase behavior, product preferences, and things like that. I'll tell you another business that's really good at doing this, and that is Bird's Nest. The shirt that I'm wearing right now is from that particular clothing business, and they do a fabulous job of, I guess, collecting. I don't know how they do that because obviously that's not my business, but they just seem to be really on top of the task of making these personalized recommendations because I receive them in my emails and they make it super easy. And as a business, as an e-commerce business, you can showcase product recommendations to customers on your website if you have the right technology in place, but certainly via email marketing. And that is definitely where I would start, particularly if you're a small business at the moment. And so based on a customer's browsing history or past purchases, your business can then recommend what's the best next product that your customer is likely to want. So complementary products, similar items, frequently bought together, and so on and so forth. And, for example, a skincare brand can send personalized skincare recommendations to customers based on their skin type, skin concerns, and, you can learn those things from, say, a quiz or past product purchases or, various different ways. And then, by implementing dynamic content on your website, you'll also allow your business to, I guess, tailor that browsing experience for each customer in real time. I love it when I'm going to a website, for example. I think The Iconic is really good at doing this. Bookstores as well. I'm a massive reader, as many of you know. If they are able to dynamically display recommendations based on my, so if it's books, like my reading history and the kind of genres that I prefer, I'm so much more likely to make another purchase. Or multiple purchases. So why do we want to do this? Bottom line is, if you can make these sorts of personalized recommendations, I mean, first of all, if you have a subscription model, you're going to retain your customers for a longer period of time because you're giving them recommendations that are really relevant to the customer, and they're going to end up enjoying using the products or the services over a longer period of time. But if you're not a subscription-based model, it's really helpful if you can make personalized recommendations to help a customer come back and purchase again. So whether that is cross-selling them to a different sort of product, I mean, skincare brands do this, can do this generally very well. And so, by getting your customers to be able to adopt multiple products from your range, particularly if it is, likely to lead to repeat purchases, like, it's a consumable product. The basket size increases as well as the purchase frequency increases. If it's, just selling more of the same kind, it may just, encourage a bigger basket size. Again, having that increased average order value is not a bad thing, right? How do you do this? I mean, definitely get started using Klaviyo, because that's going to help you collect the data and segment your database and, be able to provide those personalized recommendations, but using automation to do it. When you're, at the stage where you can get more sophisticated with your technology, for example, your website platform, then you'll be able to introduce it there as well. That is probably not a feasible step for a early stage business, but certainly something to aim for down the track. Third thing that, of course, Netflix are incredibly well known for these days is original content creation. So, Netflix, for years now, they've invested in so many different original TV shows and movies. And I guess that is, in their case, another reason why customers keep their subscription. And it, helps with that retention rate of the customers, because, why would you go somewhere else when there's always something new to watch, right? But as an e-commerce business, why would you be wanting to or needing to create original content? These days, it is just so much more, it's so much more important to a brand to get into the habit and literally consistent habit of creating original content, because this is what helps you to attract and engage your audience. And like I said earlier, if you don't have an audience, and if your audience is not replenishing, then you have no one to sell to, right? So original content that adds value to your customers' lives and helps to build brand awareness is what we're talking about here. It can be, there's a variety of different types of content that you could adopt, obviously social media content, video content, podcast or audio content, but also things like blog posts, infographics, and so on and so forth. And a lot of this can be, really shareable. It's the sort of content that people would share. That would be a fantastic outcome if people do not only just engage with it themselves, but also share it, because you end up with a much bigger reach and, increase your brand awareness. So the goal with your original content is to attract, educate, entertain, inspire your audience, whilst also, featuring and promoting your products or services. So for example, an activewear brand could create workout tutorials or healthy recipe videos or motivational blog posts or, video vlogs to engage, their audience and really position themselves as experts in the fitness industry. And by consistently delivering these ideas, through this original content, your business can attract and keep your target audience engaged. It will drive website traffic, essentially establish your brand as an authority in the industry, in your industry, becoming the go-to store for whatever it is that you sell, right? So why do you want to do this? I mean, most definitely this is about building brand awareness, building the size and volume of people in your engaged audience. And then also it's around customer retention, because if people are really, if they really do resonate with this content and, you're not just showing products, right? You're actually, producing and sharing content that is about it. There's bigger meaning and intent with the content, so like I just mentioned with the activewear example, right? So if you have an audience of customers as well as potential customers, you are going to end up retaining those customers. Your customers will become kind of like your unpaid marketing team almost. The referrals and the word of mouth marketing kind of takes on a life of its own as well. Who is this kind of strategy best for? At the end of the day, the way that e-commerce businesses are working right now, we all need to be content creators. So, I don't think that there would be any kind of business right now that would successfully be able to grow without creating content on a regular basis, original content. You can't be just, sharing what other people are sharing and hope to stand out from the crowd. You won't. You'll just look the same as the next person. How do you do this? Look, at the end of the day, the only way that I have been able to successfully grow a business while still producing regular original content is to have help and have systems and processes in place. So we've developed our own systems and processes that essentially it's like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and it just kind of makes it possible for other people to step into the content creation role in a business without the owner of the business needing to produce all of the content, yet the content is still going to meet the standards of that business and also, fit within the brand look and feel, the brand voice, all of that kind of stuff. So, we have our own way of doing it. We teach our clients. You're going, as a business owner, you're going to need to establish this as well if you really want to succeed in the long term. The fourth point about Netflix that we're going to mention today is the global reach. And, obviously Netflix is available. I don't know if they're available in every country, probably not, but they are available, all around the world in a lot of countries. E-commerce businesses can do this as well. You can expand your reach and your customer base internationally. There's multiple options for international shipping to enable you to sell products around the world. Obviously, it's pretty easy to tap into platforms to help you market your brand internationally, whether it's, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, obviously YouTube, Google. Like, there's so many different ways that you can market your business and target specific audiences based on demographics and interests and behaviors. There's other methods to expand internationally as well for an e-commerce business. You could use Amazon for fulfillment. You could use local distribution centers to manage your fulfillment. Being able to reach and sell to an international customer is one thing, but then of course managing the logistics efficiently is another thing. Another thing that, to be able to expand your reach internationally would be building partnerships with international influencers or brand reps to help you establish credibility and trust in a new market. Because, obviously in a new market, particularly if you're, say, for example, an Australian brand, trying to break into the US market, it's such a big market and it's very different from here. So being able to establish credibility and trust as well as visibility in whichever new market you want to expand into is critical. And, you can start by leveraging influencers that are already, established in those marketplaces. So why would you do this? Look, at the end of the day, if you have already kind of successfully nailed your local market, then to keep growing, you need to find new customers, and sometimes, expanding internationally is the way to do it. I certainly did that in my first business. We had we expanded our brand into multiple different international markets, and we did that mostly through distributors who kind of partnered with us. So that's another opportunity that you can tap into. Of course, that was, before some of the other things that are available now, like Amazon. But, it was a really great way to grow. And, I guess if you have a seasonal business, uh, this can be ideal because, when it's the high season here, it's typically the low season in the, other opposite hemisphere and vice versa. So it can kind of help even out your revenue and cash flow, peaks and slumps. Get my words out. Uh, Also, I found it incredibly helpful to be able to expand manufacturing because, being able to fund bigger production runs, which you need to be able to do to grow, and also to get improved margins because producing higher quantities, larger quantities, typically you get lower unit prices. But